Hi guys, so if you're watching this video, you probably already know that I am pregnant with baby number 3. Even though I am so grateful to be pregnant, this pregnancy has been rough. It's been scary. A lot of scary things happened. So in this video, I just sit down and talk about the first trimester, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything that went down. I also wanted to add a trigger warning. I will be talking about miscarriage in this video. But my hope is that this video will help someone who's going through the same thing that I'm going through. This pregnancy's been a lot different from my first two. It's been a lot harder, a lot scarier. We had some complications in the first trimester that I'm going to talk through, but it's made it so that we've waited longer to share because we just didn't know what was going to happen. So I found out I was pregnant mid-September, and we were not trying, we were preventing. I was on like a full health journey, so I was not trying to get pregnant. I did not want to get pregnant. I had a little bit more time to be excited this time around just because it wasn't planned, but we got excited, we were getting there, and then I had my first ultrasound. So my first ultrasound was around 6 weeks, and it seemed like everything was fine. You know, the ultrasound tech didn't say much, but the baby had a heartbeat. You know, at that age, you can't really see much at all, but the baby had a heartbeat, so I felt pretty confident. The next day, I got a call from my OBGYN saying that the baby looked fine, but I had what they call a subchorionic hematoma. Basically, it's just like a blood clot in your uterus. And he told me that it was pretty small, so I might bleed some, I might not even notice it. So when he told me that, I was like slightly nervous, but he didn't seem too concerned, so I wasn't too concerned either. Literally like a few hours later, I was just in the living room. Zion was in PA with my family, so I was in the living room with Ezra and Jonathan, and I felt like a gush down there. And, you know, like during pregnancy, like that kind of thing happens, so I wasn't even that concerned then. But when I went up to the toilet to check it out, it was blood. So I was freaked out, but again, it was like he said that might happen, so I was still kind of like, okay, like this could be totally fine. That night it got progressively worse as the night went on. I started just really heavy bleeding, clots, cramping, and probably halfway through the night I was pretty convinced that I had miscarriage. It seemed like it was too much to be anything else. That night I couldn't sleep at all. My anxiety was just too much, and the bleeding continued all through that night and through the next day. And then that evening we decided to go to the ER. I had really wanted to avoid it because I know they say in that situation they can't do anything, but my bleeding was getting really heavy, and I knew that if I didn't go I wouldn't be able to sleep for 2 nights in a row. I told Jonathan, you know, if I am still pregnant, then I need to be able to sleep. So we need to go. We need to get it checked out. Also, side note, at this point, we hadn't told anyone in our family. So we ended up calling like all of our family right before we went to the ER. And like, we're like, hey, we're pregnant, but we think that Eden miscarried, but we're going to the ER. Please be praying. And then on the way to the ER, you know, I was an absolute mess. In my mind, I thought for sure it was a miscarriage. And so, you know, Jonathan and I were just praying and crying, and, you know, it was just sad and hard. When we get there, they do lots of different tests. I don't really remember. They finally took us back for the ultrasound, and she put the probe on my belly, and I just remember, you know, those few seconds where she was looking around, my heart was racing. I felt like I was gonna vomit. I was so nervous. And I'll never forget, she said, "There's your baby." She said, "There's your baby." And I looked, and the baby was there. He was tiny still, but he was still there. So I'm gonna be calling this baby he because I have 2 boys, and that's what I'm used to. Don't read into that at all. But she did note that the subchorionic hematoma had gotten a lot bigger. It had grown from just very small to like a moderate sized one, which was definitely concerning. So we got home from the ER at like 5 in the morning, but I noticed pretty quickly that anytime I was active at all, walking at all, my bleeding would start back up. We decided that it was a good idea for me to go on bed rest, not lift the boys at all until the bleeding completely stopped. And during that time, it was still really scary because even though I knew that the baby was okay, I was still bleeding a lot, and I know that subchorionic hematomas, they can increase your chance of miscarriage, especially the bigger ones. So I was still really anxious about it getting bigger, about it causing a miscarriage. So being a stay-at-home mom with 2 boys and not being able to lift either one of them was extremely hard, but my mom was in town for like a big chunk of my recovery, and my husband was able to work from home a lot, which was awesome. So after weeks, my bleeding finally stopped, and then like a week or 2 later, I got an ultrasound, and the ultrasound showed that the hematoma, it's not gone, but it's shrunk a lot. and the baby is doing great. So they took me off pelvic rest. They said I could lift the boys, which when I carried them for the first time, I was like bawling. Like, I still have some anxiety just because of the amount of bleeding that I had. And I do notice, like, if I overdo it, like, I feel like I get really crampy, and you know, it's like maybe that's just normal pregnancy stuff, but I'm also always a little bit concerned about the hematoma. So hopefully at the 20-week it will be completely gone and I won't have to worry about it at all. So that is where we are in our pregnancy. It has been a journey. It has had, you know, a lot of anxiety, but God's been kind. You know, our family's been great, and I'm just so thankful to have made it to this point. Like, so I'll be posting the baby's ultrasound and the gender reveal and all that stuff here on YouTube, so make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss that. Thanks again for all your love and support. I appreciate every one of you, and I'm just grateful.